Hello, everyone. Welcome to Eurovision. I'm here with the Ludvig that will participate at Supernova 2025 in Latvia, the national selection that will choose the song and the representative of the country for the Eurovision 2025. First of all, welcome to the Eurovision community. Before you start the interview, I would like to ask you to introduce yourself a little bit, talk a little bit about you, because I'm pretty sure that a lot of people that are watching us, it will be the first time they will meet you, and for sure they want to know more about you. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you for having me in first place. I'm just a little boy from Latvia who's writing songs. That's the thing I've always loved and always knew I wanted to do for my whole life. And yeah, well, I come from a small town called Talsi in Latvia. It's very small. It's like a population of, I don't know, 10,000 people maybe. I've been making music since I remember myself, and in the year 2017, I tried to compete before. That was my first time competing in Supernova. I was just 16 years old at that time, and the rule was that you can compete from 18, at least in Latvia. In the big Eurovision, the rule is from 16, but in Latvia, for some other reason, it was from 18. So they changed the rules that year just for me, and it was kind of a big deal. And that's how I kind of blew up, at that time. And it was a great experience for me. And Supernova really paved a way for me in the Latvian music industry, and it really changed the course of my life, uh, and in a very good way. And it's been almost 8 years since then, and I've always wanted to come back, but I never did. I always thought about, like, what's it gonna be, the song, what, because I knew it needs to be a bang, it can't just be like another ballad I wrote, or something like super artistic, or because I come from a very artistic background, and I've trained, how you say, academically in
Mhm.
music. So I come from this very technical background of music, not always the feelings, but maybe some technicality. And um, and yeah, no, I thought that that's not the right thing to go. And when this song Līgo came to me,
Hmm.
uh, yeah, it was just a 10 out of 10 situation. I thought, okay, what better time? It's something I never expected to compete with, but I'm very glad. So yeah, that's a little background story.
No, yeah, and really interesting, because I had no idea, for example, about the change in the age for competing at the Supernova, and it's a really interesting fact, to be honest, because yeah, that would leave 2 years gap, comparing Eurovision and Supernova, for people to to compete. But yeah,
Yeah,
really,
I
yeah.
think there still is that rule. I think it's still from 18, from
Mm.
whatever reason. But
Just exclusively for that year,
yeah,
that change.
exactly.
No, but it's really good to know more about your background and your story. And I would like to ask you more questions about your music and your career, because I saw that you started composing, and you actually mentioned that music is something that you started doing at a very young age, around 11. I think it's the earliest that I found,
Yeah.
people mentioning. So I'd like to know, like, what are your earliest musical memories that you have, like, when you had conscious that, like, okay, this is something that I really want to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
um
It was actually, well, the first ever memory of me thinking of having a career in music was, I think that was when I was 11, or whenever Moves Like Jagger was topping the charts. Because I remember singing to that song on the radio, and I was singing to it in the car, and my older sister was with me. She said, you have a good voice, actually." And at that night, I dreamt that I'm on the big stage and I'm singing. And then I thought, okay, this is a good dream. This is a good dream. And I kind of stuck with it. And I joined this like a little singing like ensemble that my sister was in. And not long after, there was this like talent show in my like little town, you know. And since then, I was like, I kind of was the bullied kid, you know, because I was just that kid that was the perfect target, you know. I had glasses and everything, so yeah, I never really had like super friends. I wasn't the popular kid, and then the talent show came, and I was singing a duet with like an older girl from that ensemble, and nobody had heard me sing before. And I remember like, yeah, we sang in front of like two schools, which was a huge crowd for me. And yeah, I remember doing very, very good, and everybody was like so surprised that I could sing, and they liked my voice. And since then, nobody ever bullied me, and I felt so much power, you know, finally in my hands, that I was like, okay, this like I'm good at this. And you know, we people, we we're attracted to power, I guess, and we need to feel some kind of power within ourselves to get to the other day, you know. And that's where I felt my power. And I had never felt it before like that, and I was very happy. And so I knew that is my strength, and I have to move forward.
That sounds that sounds lovely, and it actually sounds like it was your sister that discovered you.
Yeah,
Is it something that runs in your family, like a talent that everyone can sing, or is just you're just lucky that your sister discovered that you can sing as well?
actually, I don't. I haven't grown up in a musician family. Uh, I've always wanted to, but that wasn't the case. Like my great grandfather, whose name was actually Ludvig, and his like, I guess because of him, I got the name as well, because it is my actual name, Ludvig. I'm Jacob Ludvig,
Mhm.
and yeah, he was a violinist, I guess, in his like little community. But that's about all the musicians in my family tree. And yeah, kind of, yeah, my sister discovered me, I guess, and then I started going to music school, and just owning the craft. But yeah, not a lot of musicians in my home. Well, at least not discovered ones.
That's true. That's true. That there's definitely many talents, like people that have a talent, but they never showed it to anyone,
Yeah,
or they were never found. So sometimes they only start careers at a later stage, or a later age, instead of as early as you did. But also, talking about your career, your musical style is very peculiar, very interesting, and we can definitely see with the latest song that you'll be using to compete at the Supernova 2025. So I'd like to ask you if you can describe your musical style and what actually inspires you in your songwriting, because it's kind of different and peculiar. So it will be interesting to know what is the process behind this? What are your inspirations? And how do you actually describe your musical style? It's interesting to know how the artist describe his music instead of the others describing it.
It would be such a miracle if I could answer this question, because I've asked this question to myself for many, many years. Because I've always been kind of the person who's, I don't know, in Latvian we say like in the air, because I'm always flowing like through ideas, and it is kind of a curse and a blessing at the same time that I don't hold on to things that strictly, but at the same time, I I don't really own into one genre all the time, you know, because yeah, I've been a part of many projects. The Ludwig is only one of my solo projects, and I make music in a band as well, and I collaborate a lot. So I'm very diverse in the genre spectrum, but how I describe it as, actually, well, you know, like
You
this.
don't need to, you don't need to answer if you don't know.
No,
You can,
there is just there is a lot of moving parts, you know. But this song, the Eurovision song that I'm competing with now, I haven't produced it. I wasn't the producer of the song. I was just I was a writer. I wrote the English lyrics, and that was my part. And of course, I sang them. And this song is very clean. It's very clean, and I respect the craft of the producer who made it. But for the last like 5 years, I've been producing myself, and so it's tricky uh, uh, to say my own production and my songwriting is mostly like, it's electronic and dancey, and it's dirty, and it's indie, and it's alternative. It's very alternative. It's super like artsy, as you should say, as you could say. But this song, it's very clean. It's very like polished. It's very nice, and I respect it. And yeah, so it's very hard for me to describe what type of music I do. But I do anything that makes me happy and that feels right.
and as you just mentioned, like there's many genres that you need to mention to actually describe what you do. Like it does not have, it doesn't need to be one size fits all. For example, alternative music, everything fits
Yeah,
into that bucket. Rock or pop
exactly.
or indie doesn't need to be like that, which makes it more interesting. In your case, that you can produce
Yeah,
something so
I just do whatever I feel like, you know.
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. And talking about songs, and you already mentioned your participation at Supernova in 2017 with the song "I'm in Love with You."
yeah.
And I would like to know how different does that song feel compared to the new one that you'll compete next year. And going back in time, as you mentioned, you were only 17. What was the inspiration behind that song? Behind that song, the "I'm in Love with You." If you find them similar, if the process was similar, if you actually produced that song or wrote the song itself. So it would be good to know a little bit more about your previous experience before we jump into the 2025 experience.
Yeah, 2017 was well, it was my big come up, you know, as a musician. And that song was I actually wrote it when I was 14. I was very young, and I wrote it at my piano. I didn't know how to produce. I only had a piano in my room, and uh, I wrote it there. There was like how I got to producing it was I once again I like entered a competition wherein the judges was the producer of the song, and I in the in the competition, I sang Sam Smith's Latch, and I got first place. And afterwards, he called me and asked me to come over to his Riga apartment and write some songs. Of course, I was so happy. I was shaking because I didn't know what to do because that never happened, and yeah, I remember going to him and showing him all of my songs, and one of them was "I'm in Love with You," and and yeah, and he produced it in like 2 days, and it was like I think the last week of uh, submitting songs to Supernova, and he was like,
Mhm.
maybe we should try this. Could be a good platform for you. So that was my first song, and it was a major success for me. And yeah, it was a big change. I had so much experience gained in such little time. It was amazing.
No,
Uh,
yeah,
but
it definitely looks like it leveraged your career since then.
yeah, like I was totally unknown before, and I got second place that time.
Exactly.
And yeah, like since then it has been a big help for me to do music full time.
Now you're back at Supernova for another year. I'm pretty sure that because you finished second 7 years ago, now it's a little bit more. It puts a little bit of pressure on you.
Of course,
But I would like to know, as you just mentioned, you always thought about coming back. So I want to know, like, how did you feel when you knew that you'd be participating again? And that you were selected. How was that feeling?
the feeling is good, although it feels way different now. But I think I just haven't like really. It hasn't really set in. I think it will really set in when I'm like in the general rehearsal and and yeah, seeing the stage for the first time. Then it will really kick in. But now I'm just attending all the rehearsals and planning the stage and feeling blessed. You know. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And that leads to like, what are your expectations for your performance? Because as you just mentioned, like, you participated in the past, so the stage is not new to you, at least the competition itself.
Yeah.
So I'd like to know, like, what do you expect from this year contest, and how do you plan enjoying it? More like a competition, or let's say, let's go with the flow,
Party.
have fun.
Now, I think it will be a party. Of course, it's a competition, and one of us is going to win. But
Yeah.
still, I know personally 90% of the participants this year. So they're all my friends. So we're just gonna have fun, and show each other what we've been working on. And I don't want to go with expectations. Of course, I have some in my head, but it's more healthy to go in without any. And yeah, I don't know. I'll just try to have fun and do the best I can.
Exactly, like, as I just mentioned, probably you have a little bit of pressure because of the previous result that you had, and now probably you see that you're at the moment one of the fan favorites. So yeah, I'd like to know, how do you keep yourself grounded? Like, okay, let's not get these getting into my mind, and keep like close to the reality, and don't get that
Yeah.
take your your brain while you should be focusing on
I
other
know.
things.
It's well, for me it's kind of easy because I've always been a very chill guy, and very down to earth. Uh, I've always like yeah, some of my family members have called me very slow because I don't find the time sometimes to feel anxious or yeah. But of course I'm like a little bit like worried of how's it gonna go, or but I don't know. It comes very naturally, because I know I believe in the song. I believe in myself. I believe that with enough rehearsals, everything will move as planned, and I'll know when to take a breath on stage, and every second will be planned. Then I think it's just a matter of remembering choreography, and yeah, it's gonna be down to the second. So yeah, I don't know. It
No,
is exciting, and now I'm not very really like nervous. I know I will be very nervous on the 1st of February. Then I will be very nervous. And I usually, what is very interesting about me, when I'm nervous, I don't like shake or anything, but I yawn a lot. Have you ever heard that? Like, I'll be yawning all the time, like
yeah, yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
all the time when I'm nervous, and like no other signs. But if you see me yawning on the 1st September, I'm nervous.
To keep yourself awake.
Yeah,
Basically, that's what your brain is saying. But yeah, like to deal with that anxiety and being nervous, how are you preparing your performance? Because I'm pretty sure that you are already working on it,
yeah.
if not already complete. But it will be good to know how you are preparing your performance ahead of the competition in February.
It's well, I can't really show all my secrets now. But we've been working with the girls, of course, the girls trio Bille. They're gonna be on stage with me, and we're gonna, yeah, I mean, I can't say too much,
Okay.
but uh but yeah, we're working, and January is full to the brim with work. So
I
yeah.
can imagine. I can imagine. Yeah, and also like while you are preparing the performance, you need to also see how you'll pass and transmit the message to the audience. So I'd like to know, like with the performance of the song, what is the main message or emotion that you hope to pass to the audience with the song itself?
Yeah.
Is there a specific message that you want to people to actually get from the song and the performance?
I mean, I want everybody just to feel sexy, everybody to feel the vibe, and to dance, and to jump up from those seats, and just feel the beat, just feel the banger that the song is, and yeah, it's gonna be. The song itself is about the summer solstice, and about finding the lost. In Latvia we call it papardiziets. It's like a flower of a plant that doesn't have a flower. So it's like, and that's what you usually say, like to the kids, that you're find going to go find the papa the zits, like the flower. You're gonna go and find it, but actually it's like code names for having sex, and in that night. So it's basically the song. The girls represent this very traditional way of waiting for the sunrise, and these very traditional things about the festival. But I'm this character of me myself. I'm the flower. I'm the puppet. And that's the analogy that we've made with the song, and of course it's all in this dance music, and everybody should just feel the vibes. It's like it's summer solstice but on steroids. So yeah, that's
Okay.
everybody to feel.
That's a good description.
It's the most fun night that you can have in Latvia, but times 50. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. Sounds like an interesting description of of the vibe of the song. Um, but yeah, like, and as I just mentioned, people are paying a lot of attention to your song. So I'd like to know, what would it mean to you to win Supernova and to represent your country?
I mean, of course, representing your country on a world's class stage is like it's an honor of a lifetime. If Latvia will give me this honor, well, first off, I'm probably crying on stage because I'm very emotional. But yeah, I don't know. I haven't really prepared myself emotionally or mentally for that scenario. As I said, I'm just going with the flow and doing doing my best. Uh, but yeah, it would mean the world to me. I've been watching Eurovision as long as I remember, and yeah, it has always been a big tradition to watch it. I've never been like the biggest fan, like diving into all the country selections, but I've always, without one miss, have watched Eurovision and been like really a part of it, and yeah, to imagine myself being on that stage and representing my country, it's like of it's like winning the gold medal in
Yeah.
the Olympics. It would be a great honor.
Yeah, yeah, and also it's definitely something that, if you achieve, would leverage your career at an international level. And exactly after Supernova, there's a before and after Supernova for you in 2017, and will definitely be another before and after Supernova 2025. So
Yeah,
I'd like to know, no matter if you win or lose, it's not losing, like if you're not win or you just like took part of the competition,
yeah,
what are your goals for your music career after Supernova 2025? No matter the results, what you want to take from these, and what are your next step after the competition. Okay, after this I'll release another song, I will leverage my career in this direction. What are your plans, if you can share?
yeah. Well, one thing you can be sure about me is if I win or lose, I will continue making music. There's no way around that. And uh, in 2017, I promised myself that after Supernova, I will like make an album, which hasn't become true. I've worked on different projects, and I still haven't made that album for the Ludvig. But I think now there is no excuses, and I have to deliver. And yeah, I will. Without promising too much on other things, I think, yeah, I don't know. We'll just we'll see how it all rolls out, and yeah, then I will make music. That's for sure.
And then actually talking about albums, it's something that I didn't ask. before in the interview, but we were talking about genres and different types of music. So it would be, at least I'm curious to know who are your musical inspirations? Like, what are other artists that you actually look at their work and use as your inspiration, or at least that you can relate with the way with their career? Do you have any names?
I don't think I can relate to anyone's career, but musically, there are a lot of inspiring artists that I've listened through the years, and really grabbed a lot of things from them. One would be Jai Paul, if you know him, is a kind of underground guy, not that underground. He released music in 2013, and then only released two songs in 2019, and hasn't like been
Mhm.
he hasn't been around. He just dropped music, and that's it. Uh, but it's great. In it's very original music. Then there's James Blake. I do.
Mm.
Yeah, and The Weeknd has always been a big inspiration for me. I discovered him when I was 11, his first mixtape. So I was one of the OG fans, and yeah. Who
No,
else?
yeah.
Well, yeah, probably. I don't know. Michael Jackson has been around for a lot, so
Yeah, no, it's really good to know like some of the inspirations or artists that you have as a reference musically. So yeah, I think we reached the end. Thank you so much for your time. But before we wrap up, I would like to ask you to just leave a quick message to the audience that will be watching us, and that will support and follow your journey at Supernova 2025.
yeah. Thank you. Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for all the major supports for the song. It's been very overwhelming, actually. I didn't really expect so many people to resonate with the song so much, and I was worried, but I see that there's no need for me to worry because of you all, and thank you very much. And I will do my best on stage.
See these as a party, as you just mentioned, instead of a competition, and also like the other your competitors, as you just mentioned, are your friends, most of them.
Exactly.
So yeah, have fun with the contest, and that's like the main spirit of Eurovision. In the end, that is to have fun, enjoy, and they all, as they say, unite people by music. So yeah, thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure
Thank
to
you.
have a
Thank you
chat
for
with
having me.
you. Best of luck. We'll continue follow your journey until February, and hopefully we'll see a great result from you.
Thank
So
you
yeah, thank you
so much.
so much. Thank you.
You. Bye.